It's time to whip off that bra, pour a glass of your favorite wine, and join us for this week's Drinks at Six podcast. Hey, Monica, happy Remembrance Day.
Jacqueline, happy Remembrance Day to you too.
Yeah, well,
been
I'm
stabbed by a poppy yet?
No, well, I love the poppies, and I actually would love a huge painting of poppies. And I have to admit that this year, just watching a lot of the TV spots and a lot of awareness around Remembrance Day, I was listening for the first time probably since public school to the words of Flanders Field, and almost made me cry. It's a pretty powerful poem.
Yes.
Pretty powerful poem.
Pretty powerful poem.
Say that fast after a glass of wine.
By the way, if you're looking for a beautiful piece of art
of
the poppies, my friend Ivan Trotter, he's local, he's from Toronto.
Yeah.
He does a beautiful
poppy
poppy.
photo?
You know what? I'll
or...
actually I'll get a photo of it that we can put up.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, I would love to see that. My mom loves poppies, too, and so we're always kind of on the hunt for the perfect piece of art. You don't want everything to be a poppy, but, so I have been stabbed, and then I, of course, have one in my coat, and I picked up Maddie and stabbed her with it. I love
it. You need an earring backing on it.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what you put on there.
Really?
Yeah, just one of those little plastic earring backings. And you'll never lose a poppy again.
That's smart. Actually, that's a really good tip, listeners.
Yes.
So I hope everyone took their moment of silence this morning. It's great for me to have a child and to see that the school system still respects that. And even though this is a century, between Maddie and the First World War, it's good that they're still instilling this value so she knows where her civil liberties came from, that, you're lucky to be standing in a classroom right now.
Exactly.
And
when she's your age, she'll read that poem and feel those emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Driving along the 401 where you see Highway of Heroes.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah. It's pretty...
It's amazing how these things are right in your face now. Whereas,
and we're losing our war heroes. I mean, there's maybe two First World War vets left. Not even. There was, about 2 years ago, I worked on a project, and I did actually know this number, but I would assume by now. That's a whole generation history gone, but not the history, but the generation of men who fought. So that actually leads to an interesting topic that sort of drives my passion, only because I, like you, have been really fortunate to grow up, in Canada, which is a multicultural mosaic, as opposed to, they say the United States is a melting pot. And I think, judging from some of the younger people I've spoken to recently, we're not maybe enforcing that message strong enough in the school system, because I'm always shocked and appalled when I hear people who I think, have access to education and just common sense speak out with racial slurs. Mm-hmm. I want to smack them in the head and say, unless you're a native Indian that was born here, you too emigrated to our country. You too didn't start this. You have no place to act entitled. Exactly. Someone else fought for your rights. So, to sit back and be critical about other races and cultures, out of fear mostly because they don't understand them, right? Mm-hmm. And that's so, right. It definitely does. It really drives me crazy. I think, to me, racism is the first and foremost indication that someone is ignorant.
Yes, that's right.
And I'm not afraid to say that, because I think in our culture and society, if you still really believe that one culture, one race, one religion is so powerful that they can brainwash our entire country, you're giving them a lot of credit.
Mm-hmm. You're actually giving them the power.
Exactly.
You're going to be the first one in line because you're so afraid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, it's interesting. I've had a few conversations about that as well, and I think, the one that stands out the most right now are Muslims, right? Because of what's been happening, and people saying, things like they're a threat to us and to our culture, and you don't let them in. Like, I've heard all this kind of thing, and the only thing I can ever think of when somebody's ranting like that is, what would have happened to my father in 1959 when he was a 21-year-old man getting off the boat from Germany to come to Canada for a better life, and Canadian people looked at him and called him a Nazi, and turned their backs on him, where would our family be right now?
Well, essentially, what's the difference?
It's exactly the same thing.
You know, they're tying all Muslims into extremist groups.
That's
you
right.
know, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm Canadian, but I'm not an idiot because Stephen Harper's also Canadian.
Yeah.
And Rob Ford, like, you know, I realize we all are Canadian, but that doesn't make me a drunken idiot.
That's
well,
okay. It's in a contained
I'm going to revoke that part. It doesn't make me a political nightmare. Well, but no, I recently had, like I said, this conversation with these young kids who have grown up in the same town and never gotten out. And to me, that's one of the biggest problems is people just live in small worlds, right? And if they ever got off their butts and saved their money and traveled and saw how rich the world was and what other cultures look like and how they celebrate and the things they believe in, they might understand that just because you believe this doesn't mean it's wrong for someone to believe that. And then you might actually challenge your own beliefs. And I think that's a really good exercise to go through. Like, how convicted are you to Catholicism or Protestant or whatever? Maybe if you went out and saw different ways of thinking, you might actually expand your own. Mm-hmm. But what I'm hearing is this short-sighted crap where these kids, like, who are in their early 20s saying to me, bringing up the incident of Zunira Ishak, who had to postpone her citizenship ceremony because she wanted to wear her burqa. Mm-hmm. It's such BS. I mean, she should have been allowed. She should be allowed. I mean, they check her before she goes in for the ceremony. A private, like an officer checks her in private. Mm-hmm. And P.S., that's your civil liberty as well. You, Monica, me, Jack, if we're going through airport security or whatever and we want a private, you know, screening or whatever has to be done, we are entitled to that. And if we want a female officer, we are also entitled to that. It's not just extended to someone because they're a different religion. Like, that short-sighted thinking just incites me. Mm-hmm. But not only that, I was saying to these kids, you know, what is wrong with her burqa? Like, why, when you know nothing about her religion, does her burqa bother you so much? Like, you're ignorant of all the facts around it, yet you seem so passionate that she shouldn't be allowed to do this. Like, it somehow interferes with your, like, rights or freedoms. And, you know, I get zero response on that because there's nothing intelligent you can respond. But also, I said to them, so, like, it's, you know, it's hiding her face. What about your pals out there who've tattooed 90% of their bodies?
Yeah.
You know? Or what about the fact that kids wear, like, Mohicans or crazy hairstyles, or they wear dark sunglasses in school? I mean, there's a million ways to disguise your face. A burqa's your problem. You know,
exactly.
It just drives me crazy. And on a day like today, I'm thinking, is this what our soldiers fought for? For people to have freedom and liberty, for Canada to be this country where what? We point fingers and look down our noses at other religions? That's not who we are.
No, that is not who we are. And that's what gives me goosebumps right now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel very fortunate to be
I feel like I have to drink some wine to calm down.
Yes. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to be able to live here and to be able to, like, you know, have a business in this country and all these wonderful things. Like, do you really, like, in South Africa, they pay, like, 25% of their, like, taxes on their business. Okay, now I'm shooting out numbers, but it's a high number. Like, if I had to give 25 to 30% of my business away in taxes, I wouldn't have a business. And they make it work. Like, I don't know. We have so many freedoms and so many benefits, and that's what I love about being a first generation Canadian, because I grew up with parents that looked at everything as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. There was no way in hell we would ever have gone without, because they came from, you know, going through the war and eating nothing but potatoes and, like, adding water to soup to feed more people, and there's, like, no vitamins in it, and my dad had scars on his legs from boils that he had as a kid, and, you know, and he comes here, and just the appreciation and the love my parents, like, we've always had so much love for other cultures. They used to take us to Toronto once a year to this event called Caravan. I don't know if you remember it.
I do.
And you got a passport and you got to go to all these different pavilions, and they taught you about their food, they taught you about their religion, about everything. And, you know, the more my brother and I were like, we got to go to this one, we got to go to this one. Like, we wanted to know about all these different cultures. And we always had like a mix of friends, of people over, and there was never any, like, racism to me. I sometimes feel like I can't even intelligently speak to it because I don't even know where it comes from. Like,
well, it's
why
so
would you hate?
And it comes from fear. Hate comes from fear. And I think, unfortunately 9/11 left a huge, huge scar. But, like, really, like, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy stuff, but let's just look at what the U.S. has done to other countries. You want to talk about terrorists?
Yes.
Like, what do you think those other countries think of Americans? Mm-hmm. So, and Canada just jumped right on board thanks to Harper's. So, it's not really that easy as a Canadian.
And, Justin's pulled that right at first weekend.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, you know what?
Oh, I do love that one.
Yes, me too. And I actually have a very interesting little blurb about what he has done in the first week. This was in his first week, what he's accomplished. So whether or not, you love him or not, it's interesting to know what he's done.
And it is early in, and I'm not saying, like, you have to love Justin Trudeau, but I do love anybody that brings light to this situation. Because it is deeply disturbing to hear this old school mentality in a country. It's so self-righteous when we're all lucky to be here. Like,
yes.
Nobody I know who speaks this stuff would be here. I've got someone who sends me these trashy emails about how Muslims are brainwashing us. I'm like, you're brainwashed by the idiot who sent you this email.
Yes,
what
that's
are you talking about?
Exactly.
You know what? Your white trashy friend sitting over there with her mediocre IQ sending you these emails, she's actually brainwashed you more than anybody.
Yeah.
Because you're passing it on and supporting it. So
exactly.
Guess what? Ding! You've been brainwashed.
Dummy. That's right. Okay. I just found my Trudeau.
He's
done in what he did in his first 4 days. Ready?
What has JT done?
Within just 4 days of welcoming our new Prime Minister, he has notified Obama that Canada will be pulling out of the bombing campaign in the Middle East.
Yes!
He has put forth a motion to remove the ban that prohibits gay men from donating blood.
Right on.
He has motioned to have medical marijuana dispensaries placed in every major Canadian city, which will stimulate the economy, and has launched an official nationwide search for the missing and murdered First Nations women and girls.
Thank God.
Hello.
I just had a huge talk with someone whose background is Native, and I've seen documentaries on this that would make you sick. How our government, our country, our self-righteous country, tormented these families and treated them like animals, and it was their land. Like, how can you be racist when your forefathers are terrorists in some regards, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sorry, like, I do love Canada and Canadians for the most part, but when people pull the racist card, I'm like, oh, dude, you live in a glass house.
Yes.
You better be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I totally interrupted you.
Nope, that's good. Justin Trudeau has accomplished in 4 days what our former Prime Minister couldn't do in 10 years. For the first time in many years, Canada is in the forefront of international news. Just in this 1 week following the election, the world loves him, and for the first time in a long time, I am proud to be Canadian.
Awesome.
And I'm very sorry to the person that beautifully wrote this. I jotted it down quickly, and I did not take your name, but I'll find the original post and maybe we can put that up.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think that when I hear that stuff about what's happening to these First Nations women, I mean, what's happened to children, like, I think, okay, here I am on your soil. I feel grateful, I don't care how many years have passed. I'm grateful that I can live here, and I'm sorry that it had to go down the way it did, that innocent people were killed so that we would have a better place to live.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Gratitude is what makes you feel more positive and better in your life. Gratitude. And that's why they say every morning you should think about one thing you're grateful for. And I find that is a game changer. I'm not talking about war or the country or even politics. I'm talking about just in a day-to-day situation. If I wake up kind of tired or moody, or I've got something big coming up and I'm stressed or whatever, gratitude. Like, if I can just get myself to recenter a little bit and go, you know what, it kind of sucks that this is about to happen, or I have to do this, or I'm stressed about this, but I'm so grateful that I work for myself, and I can choose these assignments. I'm so grateful I can walk my daughter to school and not have to rush to work and never be part of her JK experience. So there's a lot of things to be grateful for, and maybe people just need to friggin' focus on what they're grateful for as a citizen of Canada and stop pointing fingers. Yeah. I mean, this behavior, this racism, like even the JK students seem to be risen above this kind of behavior. It's
exactly.
intolerable. Stop it, racist. Stop
and
it.
Also, you know, like what I think it would be great to wake up in the morning, think of what you're grateful for, and then think about what is my greatest fear. And then say to yourself, knowledge is power. So, for instance, with people feeling threatened that the Muslims are conspiring in their mosques and they're going to come out with machine guns and kill all of us.
Yes.
But for me, okay, what would be a big fear? I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, my biggest fear is that my business is going to fail and I'm going to lose all my money and my house and whatever. So, you know what? Then I should take responsibility for that, not let it overpower me. Start looking to other people, like what has somebody else done in this situation? How can I gain confidence on this? What are some other avenues where I can bring in extra income? Whatever it is to get me out of that headspace where I'm fearful. And it's baby steps, right? Yeah. Little things at a time. Because the more you know, the more powerful you become, the more confident you are, the more good you bring to yourself.
Well, you know what? I just have to say that I think that's an excellent point. And P.S. I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you, too. And I'm grateful for this wine. We haven't. Have you been already sipping?
Yeah. J-Lore. J-Lore.
Not J-Lo.
Cab Sav. Not
okay,
J-Lo.
This is my first
J-Lore.
time trying it.
California
May
Cab
I
Sav.
squish it?
You swish it. It used to be my weekend wine, but it got upgraded to my week wine. Like weekday wine. Nice. Nice.
So, Jacqueline, you know how... oh, nice.
Yeah?
You know how I have the sinus thing with the red wine?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So, especially for this bottle of wine, I went to my chiropractor this morning, and I said... I think I'm grinding my teeth a little. I also got a sinus thing. So he punched me in the jaws.
Oh, hey, that's great.
And then
sorry, what's his name? Because I never want to go to him.
Then proceeded to press on my sinuses with, like, I swear he put his whole body weight on there.
I think I know what
I feel so good. I'm drinking the whole bottle.
All right. I think I now know what my greatest fear is. Your chiropractor. No, but I just want to sort of wrap that up by saying, you know, my daughter has something that I didn't have, and so it truly is an opportunity and a blessing that a lot of us didn't grow up with. So, you know, as much as I am very angry hearing racist comments, I do understand the foundation of them. I do understand they're steeped in fear and small-minded, growing up in a place and not ever exploring or learning anything outside of your culture and being so ethnocentric. But Maddie is growing up on a street right now where we have same-sex couples, we have interracial couples, we have Indian couples, we have every culture on our street. It's fantastic. And my kid doesn't see any difference in color. You know, she just knows that awesome little girl is her buddy and that these are mommy and daddy's friends, and like it doesn't occur to her that there's any difference between them.
I love that.
So I hope she's part of a new generation, a refreshing new generation. I really hope so.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I had a friend in school, and in kindergarten, we all got to, whatever, we're all playing and stuff, and she went home and she said to her mom, "Mommy, I have a new best friend." And my friend, blonde, blue eyes, like little British girl, right? Yeah. "I have a new best friend." "Oh, what does your new best friend look like?" She goes, "Well, she's got about my height and she has really crinkly hair." And her mom's like, "Interesting, crinkly hair. I wonder, like, what's she talking about?"
Tony Humper.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, her best friend, Jamaican girl. But didn't see the color, right?
Of course. And, you know, it's so funny. Maddie, when I drop her off at school, this little boy named Prince introduced himself to me a few weeks ago as Maddie's boyfriend. I was like, okay, well, line up, because apparently you're number 4. So Maddie was telling my grandparents about, or her grandparents, my parents about it, and, you know, she's got this boyfriend, Prince, and he's dark hair. but again, so I knew that my parents had no understanding. I'm not sure if he's Jamaican. I'm not sure like what his background is. He's just the sweetest thing. So I took a picture of him and Maddie because he wants me to take a picture of them every morning, and sent it to my parents. And they didn't say anything. I mean they're in their 70s, but it's just funny, right? That our like these kids don't describe people by their color; they describe them by their physical characteristics.
Yeah,
which is what you should be describing people as, right?
That's
so
right.
Anyway, she didn't say, "Oh, he has different Christian values than we do." Blah blah blah. Oh no, he doesn't believe the same thing as you. Let's bomb him. So anyway, on to that. I do have to tell you my weekly Maddie moment. It's my weekly mommy moment, but I don't know if it's funny or makes me want to cry.
Oh.
So Maddie comes into my room in the morning, and we're all girls here, so I can say this. She sees me get dressed, and she looks at my boobs and sees me putting on a bra. And she loves to ask me, "What is that?" I'm like, "How many times do you How many times have I told you it's a bra?" So she said to me a couple of weeks ago, "But what is your bra for?" Like, awesome question. So I said, "Well, they are to keep mommy's boobies in shape." And I'm pretty sure that that's what my mom said to me. So she said, "It's a shame they don't make them for little boobies." Like, no, it is not a shame. They don't make them for little boobies. You're 4. So we were at Joe Fresh the other day, and they make them for little boobies.
Oh, boy.
So I had to buy these little bras. They're not bras. They're like tanks, but spaghetti. They're just, why, Joe Fresh? And so anyway, we got them. That's my fault. I did have a weak moment. It was kind of cute, and
Yeah.
I thought, oh, how special, But I'm trying to teach her to respect that it is underclothing and whatever. She is walking around the house. As soon as company leaves or friend leaves, she's walking around the house in her like little dancing skirt and her bra now. And
Wow.
and she used to talk about being like Batgirl, and now she's talking about being a cheerleader. So,
Well,
so I got me some work to do. I think I'm gonna have to parachute in Arlene Dickinson, Sheryl Sandberg. I need support, ladies, and I don't mean of the booby kind. So that's my mummy moment for you.
Oh my goodness.
So why don't we move on to not a lighter, but a more fun-loving and we all love each other topic.
Yes.
You had emailed me saying you wanted to talk about something that's really supported you through business and made you feel good in sort of the business community yourself, sort of taking and giving back. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. You talked about the topic of mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, mentorship.
Yeah.
Have you done it? Have you been a mentor to anyone, or have
A little bit. It's such a weird ask for me. I've helped people. Oh no, that's not true. I guess I could say I had a girl email me. I went to high school with her, and we didn't know each other really in high school. And she, I gotta tell you this story. I don't mean to hijack your topic.
No, please tell me.
But Laura, I'm talking about you, my friend. She emailed me and she said, "Look, I read your recent article on, I can't remember if it was parenting or something. She said it was funny and I want to write and what do you think and blah." And I'm like, well, there's no money in it. Go for it. So she asked me if I would read some Spec magazine articles she wrote. And I follow her on Facebook. Like her stuff shows up in my timeline. And I said to my husband, it's like this: smiling cat, baby picture, kid in costume, bam, Laura comment. And it's like something cynical and dark and witty and kind of like, oh, she's like using her inside voice. And but I like laugh my ass off every time I read her posts, right? I'm like, I think I just want to take a collection of her posts and stick them in a book for when I have bad days and I need a good giggle. So I read this magazine article, and it was kind of a romantic piece. And it was well written, but it could have been written by anybody. And that's the hardest thing about being a writer is you have to find your voice, right?
Yes.
I mean, as a commercial writer for brands and whatever, I can write in any brand tone. But when it's my content, it's hard to find your voice, and I didn't realize that. So it it took me a long time, and I read her thing, and I thought, I don't know her that well. I haven't seen her in 30 years. I feel really uncomfortable telling her that, you know, this could be so much better. Because technically it's a good product. It's just that it's not what I kind of thought she would go for as a writer. So I hemmed and hawed, and I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to tell her. I would want someone to tell me. And I, like, cringed as I wrote her the email saying, you know what, it's well written, but it could have been written by Joe anybody. Mm-hmm. What your strength is, you write these powerful posts. They're poignant, they're smart, sometimes they're insulting, and sometimes they're abrasive, and they sure do spark controversy. Like, that's your voice. So she started this blog, Skinny and Single, and her blogs, honest to God, like, as someone who's not an experienced writer, I'm like, okay, now I'm really sorry I talked to you.
Now she's got 100,000 followers.
Oh, yeah. She's got triple my blog traffic. I'm like, because her blog posts are short, to the point, well written. Every single one of them has a powerful insight. Everyone gravitates to it because even if you don't like to admit it, you know that's how you feel. She's a frigging brilliant writer. So I felt great that I haven't been much of a mentor to her. I help her, like, maybe with some questions here and there, but mostly on social media. But if I hadn't have said that to her about her writing, you know, if I hadn't have, like, swallowed at my, you know, fear and said to her, look, I just kind of want to tell you this. I don't know if she would have gone down the other path, but that's my only sort of real experience other than some PR stuff. But I haven't ever myself had a mentor.
I'm glad you interrupted me with that story.
Oh.
Because I think that it's really excellent, because the problem I have with the mentorship word, the whole thing about it, it gives off to me a feeling like somebody's better than somebody else.
Yes,
it's
it does.
intimidating to me. I don't love that word.
No.
And I feel like if I say somebody's my mentor, I'm implying that I don't have, well, which is true. I am going to them because they have more experience, more knowledge. Yeah.
But not subserviently.
But, you know, exactly. So when I did that public speaking gig, I kept saying to people, and I don't even know where it came from because I hadn't written it down. I just kept saying, remember, nobody's better than you, and you're not better than anybody else. And
that's a great quote, by the way.
Thank you. But I think that what you've done for your friend, and what I try to do when I meet people or talk to friends, is just give people a reflection of of what you perceive to be their true self. What they do with it is up to them. Mm-hmm. And it's not with judgment. Mm-mm. It's a reflection. It's like on my way over here, I was talking to a really good friend of mine, Steve Eggers. He's in this amazing band, the Nines. And he's working on a new CD, and we were just tossing ideas back and forth. And I'm telling him all of the things that I see in him. And he's going, whoa, okay, I like that idea. Never thought of that. Whoa. But I didn't feel like I was overpowering him or making him feel like I knew more about his business than he did.
Yeah.
And I get the same thing from you, Jacqueline. When we sit down and we talk about Glam Jewels, you always reflect something to me that I did. You get me excited. Like, yeah, I can totally do that. And that feels like me. But if you throw me an idea,
give you an invoice, and you're like,
yeah, and then I'm like, I gotta pay $10,000.
Okay, what?
To use a red bead in that necklace?
Jesus! No, I knew the red herring was the price tag.
But you know what I mean? It's just like now that we're talking it out, it would be so great to do some sort of a mentorship program that wasn't called mentorship, like reflection. Because even if I've ever helped somebody where they came to me because they wanted my advice and they had this impression that I knew so much more than them, at the end of the meeting I get a lot out of it myself.
Yeah,
it's not all.
Well, you do. You both get it's complimentary to both of you. It should be called complimenting.
Yes, complimenting with the reflection.
But you know, there should be I mean, like, mentor, as far as I know, you don't really pay a mentor, so there should be something mutually beneficial about it, right? Like,
yes.
when usually, if you and I sit down and talk about glam or whatever, we come up with ideas, mine come to me on the spot, so it's not like I've thought about it for a long time, and then I get excited about yours, like how you can implement it and whatever, and I think there's a good exchange there.
Yes, exactly.
I've never had a mentor, so I can't really speak too much about the experience as someone who goes to a mentor or has a mentor, but you can, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, I think I've had quite a few people over the years that have guided me and sort of, especially with industry stuff. Actually, one mentor that is like a best friend now is my friend Catherine Schimmelpenning, because she came over she was in the United States. She was selling like jewelry like crazy. She brought, remember Nomination, those charms?
Yeah.
She brought those into Canada, those Italian charms. Yeah. So she had all of this experience. I was so intimidated by her. And I put myself there in this sort of subservient, like, situation where I was like, I have to learn from her. She has so much to offer. But then as the relationship changed and the friendship grew, it was now it's such an equal exchange. We're like sisters now, we come to each other for inspiration. She's moved on. She's like an amazing realtor here in the city now, but it's just, that turned into being something really, really amazing. And I brought this book along here, Women Count, A Guide to Changing the World. And it's written by Susan Bulkelly Butler. And, so anyway, they have some tips on mentoring and being mentored. So I'm going to just read one. The first one is think big and stay focused. Erin Slater, campus mentor for kids, reinforces how important it is to think big. Have an abundance mentality, she says. So that's really important. And when you feel subservient to someone, you can't really get into that headspace of abundance, right? Imagine. For example, whatever you are thinking, think bigger. And have confidence in your big ideas. You can't meet enough people, but focusing on key relationships is important too. What can you do to build new relationships and enhance the relationships you already have? As we talked, Erin also told me how important it is to stay focused on whatever you decide to do. Don't change your direction unless your plan changes your priorities. They have merit, so explore them and make them happen. So, when you think about all these ideas that go through our heads and all these like epiphanies we have and all this stuff, I always go back to the whole thing about, never worry about competition because there's only one you. That's the one thing you got going for you that nobody else has.
Exactly.
So when you meet somebody, and let's say tomorrow I meet someone that's just started a business and it's 1 week old, and I've been doing mine for 15 years.
And it's clam jewels.
Exactly. Would I be so stupid to think that I couldn't learn from that person that's had that business for 1 week? Like, would I be in a networking thing, like, and like, oh, hi, I'm Monica of Glam Jewels. I've had my business since 2000. Oh, hi, I'm Susie of Clam Jewels, and I've had it for a week. Oh, I don't want to talk to you. I don't think so. I would never do that. I'd be like, really? 1 week? So what brought you over to this side of things? Like, because she's got something that I don't have.
She had to do this research to start her business. She could have uncovered something you didn't.
Yeah, and she had a passion and a drive to do it that was different from my passion and my drive. So why don't we talk about that stuff, right? Like amongst each other instead of feeling like there's this hierarchy thing with mentorship. There is not.
There isn't. And the thing is too, like, even to talk about the competition, I mean, we're not the only podcast out there of two fabulous chicks focusing on life in your 40s.
That's right.
Yes, we are. But it isn't about, I'm not there's not one fashion magazine. There's a ton of ways to slice something, and just a different tone of voice can be a different product altogether.
Yes.
So you can learn from that. I think a lot of people, they probably pass up mentorship opportunities all the time because they see competition instead of opportunity.
That's right. Exactly. So that brings us to our next point. Be a good listener.
Be a good listener.
Yes. One of the most important skills of a mentor is to be a great listener. By being a good listener, you can change the life of the person you are listening to and even your own. A good listener is not someone who immediately gets into the problem-solving mode with a lot of solutions. I like doing that.
Yeah.
A good listener asks good questions and is empathetic, which oftentimes helps the mentee. Never heard that word before. See, a mentee and a mentor?
Not digging it. No, don't like it.
Come up with their own solutions. So there you go. Like, it's those questions. Asking those questions. That's what draws out the magic.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about yourself.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? So have you ever been in a conversation with somebody who does only talk about themselves? It's like talking to a wet tennis ball. It never comes back. It's like, how are you? Ah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And another example of my greatness is the time that I blah, blah. Okay, so great. But you know what? You walk away. Like, a date is like that sometimes, right? You go on a date with someone like that and you're like, why would you want to see me again? You don't know anything about me. We've learned a ton about you tonight. Not good. And why, like, what have you learned about me? So I feel like when someone talks, I mean, the best way to get information is obviously to get someone to talk about themselves. But it's amazing to me that in the business world, in a networking situation, that the people who talk about themselves are just missing so much, like, data mining opportunity, you know?
Exactly. That's so true. Speaking of data mining, I was data mining through the Webster's Dictionary last night. You thought you were going to get away with it? Not happening.
Your favorite friend, the dictionary. So do tell me, what did you come up?
So I have, let me just look over this with my sip of wine. Cheers. This is a nice wine. Got a Kleenex? No.
Your chiropractor.
The word of the day, Jacqueline, is pendiculation.
Pendiculation. Pendiculation.
Pendiculation. That could be like a really good...
It could be.
I could hear Rod Stewart singing that.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it... I don't know the word. Verb or noun?
It is a verb.
I figured pendiculation. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, pendiculation.
Pendiculation.
Okay. Pendiculation. It sounds like something with a pendulum. Okay, so I think pendiculation, I'll say it in a sentence. He wasn't sure if he wanted the smart 40-year-old woman or the busty 20-year-old bimbo. His pendiculation caused him to end up going home with nobody.
You got away with words.
I do.
Too bad those words don't fit into what they mean.
Come on, that's not it. I feel like you lied.
Oh, Jacqueline, you
strong
try
feeling.
so hard, and I've told you to go to bed and read the dictionary, not the Bible, but you don't listen to me.
You know me and my Bible. Yep.
Pendiculation is a full body stretch.
Really?
It really is.
Are you a yogi now?
So, repeat after me cheerfully, please. That's what my grade 13, everyone. There used to be a grade 13.
There was. Oh my God, for you millennials.
Flashback.
There was. See, you got off the hook.
My grade 13 German teacher, Frau Kraus, she'd go, Class, repeat after me cheerfully, please. Okay. Oh. So please use the word pendiculation. Or are you using it in a sentence, or I have
did.
to?
You have to.
Oh, I have to.
Oh, nice
God.
try. You think I'm going to do all the heavy lifting in this podcast?
Okay. Before I go for a run, I like to get serious about my pendiculation to avoid any type of injury.
Is that like,
did
you make
that
that
use it right?
You're asking me. You're the one who came up with the word. It sort of feel like you ripped that sentence off Webster's or Wikipedia.
I came up with it too fast. All right, I cheated this week, people.
All right, well, that was good.
Okay.
And your damn word of the day. That was a good one. Pendiculation. I feel like the wine is over by you, and I would have to exercise pendiculation in order to pour my next glass.
I want to hear it.
Oh, did you like that magic mic?
Oh,
yes, you did. All right, let's wrap her up here. I wanted to just sort of finish with one little topic. It doesn't have to be a long one. Mm-hmm. So we all know I have a therapist. Anyway, I have this great therapist that I work with, and my husband and I see her sometimes, and she's been just like a godsend. And like, she should just be a communication expert. She should go into every business, every partnership, every relationship, and she should just fix everybody. So one of the things that came up for me the other night is I had a friend over who's, also having issues with her husband. I mean, I think we all do once you get married. Two people living together, and trying to decide on the same things all the time and agree, it's going to be hard. So, anyway, so she was telling me an incident with her husband and her kids, and I thought, it's interesting because I relate to the husband. Even though what he's doing is, I feel, essentially wrong, I relate to him because I get what he's doing. And he doesn't know he's doing it. So, one of the things that my therapist always tells me is, I'll say, well, Greg did this, and I had no choice, and he didn't ask me, and basically, I always put myself in this powerless situation. And when we don't have power, we don't have control. And when we don't have control, most of us become fearful, and fear often turns into anger. So there you have.
There you go.
There you go. You got yourself the perfect storm.
Don't bomb Greg.
I will not bomb Greg because he lives in my house, and I would just be ruining my house. But you've got the perfect storm, right? So if I said, well, I feel like, Greg always comes in and makes these decisions, and I have no part of it, she turned it around on me and said, you do have a part, you choose not to take part in it, because if you take a part in it and something goes wrong, like say he chooses to do a certain kind of, like we're doing our roof, he chooses the tiles, the, what do you call them? Those things
the
on the top. Yeah, those.
Gotcha.
If I just say, whatever, you do it, or I let him take control and I don't force my involvement or my opinion, then if something goes wrong with those shingles, I'm also not responsible. So,
right.
And it sounds like an intentional thing, but it's very subconscious. So,
is it unconscious or subconscious?
It's very. You said you have a problem with unconscious eating, which is a problem. I subconsciously participate in my own demise. That's totally different. You and your passed out eating. But she was telling me, he said, well, you control the kids and you control the house and I have no say. And I said, but that's a fear thing, right? Because raising kids or fixing a house or whatever, there's so many opportunities to screw up. So it's almost like, if you're an insecure person, which I am, and most of us have insecurities.
You have insecurities. You're not an insecure person. May I correct you?
That's true.
As your friend.
I've gone a long way. I used to be an insecure person. I am now a person with insecurities. Thanks to my therapist. But it's funny how much I learn from her, and I see it in other people, and I realize, how often so many people do this. She'll say, so this situation with the father was saying, you have all the control, and as a result, he's not doing this in school. And I said, but he doesn't want to have that control because he doesn't want that responsibility or failure, right? It's easy when you stay on the peripheral and judge because you're not responsible for the mistakes. And I think subconsciously, a lot of us do that if we have a fear of a situation. But conversely, if you are the person in that situation doing it, you get angry. I'll get angry at Greg because the roof wasn't this or this wasn't this. I can't really give you examples because I can't think. But but she said to me, you have choices. You have choices in everything, right? Maddie will come home from school and be a nut job. You know, she's been disciplined all day. She wants to let loose and throw all the rules away when she gets home.
Right.
And then that makes my night chaos. And then I get angry and I blow up. And then I feel bad. And I'm like, I should just stay calm. And then sure enough, she pushes and pushes until, like, my last nerve is shot. And then I blow up. And then I feel bad. And then I, you know, go to bed feeling guilty. And then I feel sad. And then the other night, we got into this situation where she was just off the rails. It had been a late night the night before, out of control. I was tired. My computer was screwing up. I had a deadline, and I'm like, I can't take this right now. I'm going to blow. Like, I can just feel it. I'm going to give her a big time out, and then she's going to end up in tears. And then I just, for some reason, and this is all about aperture. Aperture is always about the right thing happening at the right time when you're ready to receive it. I thought, you know what? I have control. I have a choice right now. And it's when you feel like you don't have a choice that you behave poorly or badly or negatively or explosively. That's when you know, it's because you feel helpless. You have no choice.
Yeah, you're overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can scream and lose my shit on her right now, or I can just say, you know what? You've got to the count of 3, which I know is a parenting no-no, but I use it and it works. And then if you carry this on, then you're going to go up for quiet time. And my calmness scared the crap out of her because she was like, oh, crap. She's like serious.
Yes.
Right now. She's not screaming. She's mad.
Did you say Madeline instead of Maddie?
No, I didn't even use her name. I think I was seeing red. I couldn't even think of her name. I'm like, you, little M. We'll count to 3. But
great.
After it was over, and she did calm down, I just felt like, and then we moved along. You know, and I thought, oh my God, like as soon as I realized I had a choice, I could explode and get angry. And it's helped me with Greg too. He'll come in and he'll say something that bothers me. He'll insult something I'm cooking or whatever. I have a choice. And get really angry back, or I can just ignore it. And if he asks me later, I can say, I didn't think that was really nice, but whatever, you know. But I didn't have to. I didn't have to internalize it.
That's
I know.
Awesome.
Thank you. I just
this
actually.
Is huge.
Yeah, I know. I just actually gave myself title a relationship expert.
Well, please. I think that's fantastic.
But have you ever felt like that? You didn't have a choice and you felt horrible, and then when you exercised a choice, you felt great.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
All the time. You know, I think what we were talking in one of our previous podcasts about what we grew up with, and my parents were very like open, like they had an argument, they're having it, they're not waiting until the kids are out of the room, going to bed, whatever. So our house, like that worked for my parents, and our house was noisy, and I didn't like that noise. Like it bothered me. But on the other hand, I got to see my parents work through serious shit. And are you allowed to say that word on here?
I can't edit it, so it's staying on here.
And I got to see them make up after and how it was resolved. So all positive. I'm not saying that was a negative. That was a good thing.
That's good.
But for me, in my relationship, I decided right from the beginning, I do not want to be a reactor because I don't like how that ends up, because I've seen how that ends up. And it's ego. It's not even people talking to each other. It's ego having a freaking party. Like,
exactly.
Let's go. So when we have any kind of confrontation or whatever, I just let Wayne take it away. And he can express whatever he needs to express.
Right.
And I come back to it later. I do what you did.
Because that's right. You're making
in the
a choice.
moment, I do feel like my head is going to explode. I feel like I might throw up. I feel like I physically feel like, oh, here it comes. And then I go, okay, ego, you got time. Settle the hell down. Like, I talk to myself. Yeah. I actually minimize my own mayhem instead of his. He's responsible. Right? And then I come back to it, and he's like, oh my God, I was such an asshole. I can't believe I said this or this. Yep. And I go, well, you know what? Better luck next time with the way you're going to express yourself. You know, like, that's his thing. That has nothing to do with me. You didn't need to
tell him how he behaved. You didn't need to say, you know what, next time be nice to me, whatever. He came to that on his own because he had he had the freedom to explode, he had the space to really look at it, and he had the ability to look back on it and reevaluate it. You didn't have to do a thing.
Yeah,
all you had to do is work on yourself. Yeah. And that's a thing, like, you know, Greg and I get to the point where we're both talking and we're not hearing.
No.
And it's useless, right? And it's just like, anyway, you take a step back and you just go, I have a choice right now. I can engage. and make this worse. Or, and for me, engaging is more about pride. I need to be right. I need to show you the wrong you've done. I'm such a martyr. You're such an abuser.
You know what? How respectful is that to let somebody go off? I know that sounds insane.
Yeah.
But really, you're respecting Greg by letting him have his little shit fit or whatever.
Well, he doesn't, yeah.
No, but you know what I mean?
Or
just
he'll have a thing he'll say out of anger.
Yeah.
Because he's in a bad mood, and
Yes.
I'm like, wow, that was really crap. But instead of like getting angry, I make the choice to be like, you'll pay for that later on your own cognizance. I don't need to do any work here. And then later he'll come back and say, sorry, like I didn't, and then it's done. It's done in 2 seconds.
Guess what? We married good people. They're not out to get us.
Exactly. But that's always hard to remember in the moment, right? You look at, it's hard not to look at your partner as the enemy in a moment like that. And that's the thing that, you know, you really have to step back. And that's when you say the crappy, shitty things, right? When you engage.
I know. And guess what? Life's biggest lesson. Do not take anything personally. When Greg does that, or Wayne does that, or we do that to them, what are we doing? We're reflecting what we feel onto somebody else.
Yeah.
He's giving, right there, talk about data mining and information. He's telling you exactly how he feels about himself in that moment. And that's when you should be paying attention. And what can I do for my husband?
I also think silly spray works. Like if you
okay, I can't believe you gave away the silly spray. I thought we were going to talk about that.
You look like an idiot covered in string while you're yelling at me. Yeah. I just want to leave you with this. I went to see Chris Hadfield speak last week. I happen to have him on a bit of a pedestal because I wanted to be an astronaut until I found out that like
you have to go into outer space.
Well, no, I was all jazzed about space. It's just I found out you need to know math, and I have a claustrophobia issue, right? So like the helmet thing wasn't going to really work. But anyway. He showed like great shots from space, and there's this one video he took when he was out on the Canadarm. Like he was up to build a Canadarm. He came out of this like compression chamber, and he popped out. And I guess the other astronaut was taking the video of him, and it was so funny, the commentary, you know, him like, and I looked out and I was shocked, and then I went okay and back to work. He said the feeling of seeing the world from up there, right? And in all its glory, and just, he said he was like overwhelmed. And that's why you can see in the video, he just stops and he's like, holy crap. And I was thinking about all this, and just to circle back to the beginning, because I just had this discussion with these young people about racism, and I thought, you know, the answer to racism, like I said, is for people to get out there and explore the world. But the problem with like everything, right? The problems that we have in our lives and business, they're so big, but they're so small. And when you pull back and you pull back, right? Yeah, Greg and I had a fight, but the bigger picture is we're a family fighting to keep a mortgage together and get our kid through school and keep her healthy. And the bigger picture is that we have extended family and friends and careers. And the bigger picture is that blah, blah, blah. And I was looking at this image in this video of Chris Hadfield. I'm like, you know, he's up there, population everybody. He's seen the whole world. Like, what an incredible perspective. What a peaceful perspective. Mm-hmm. It's when you drill down into the nitty-gritty that the problems happen, right?
It's so true.
I'm not saying we can all have that, but it was just such a peaceful moment to see that image. And I thought, oh, when you just pull away from something, right? When you're too close to something and you pull away, it's amazing, the perspective.
Yeah.
So I leave you with that drunken, poignant point.
I love that. I love that. Do you get that feeling when you're on an airplane? I get that feeling when I'm on an airplane. And I look down and I go, what a joke. It's not even, you know, there's so much more.
I remember
Why am I thinking about that down there?
Yeah. Like, look at all those people down there having all my problems.
Yeah, take them.
I'm unique, but my problems are not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything's achievable. So anyway, thank you for an awesome cocktail hour.
That was great.
That was great. Cheers,
and I want to get
friend.
A selfie with Justin Trudeau.
I do too.
Sitting on his lap, preferably.
Well, I don't know. He does yoga, though, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think I want our listeners to join us, because next week you and I are going to get together, and I'm using my Fitness Pal, and I know you're doing something. We're going to talk about 3 weeks post-Halloween and what that looks like on the hips. And next week I want to talk about a topic that is really, really hot and trending in our group of friends, and that is midlife mamahood.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what else? Before we sign off,
Yeah.
we should let people know that just because we're podcasting at 6 and presenting this at 6, doesn't mean they can't listen to it whenever the heck they want. If 4 o'clock in the morning when you finally get your last kid to bed is the best time for you, you can do it then too.
Exactly.
And then what about our hashtags?
Hashtag tipsy at 6. Use the drinks at 6 hashtag for now. Easier, and you get all your images on our site, and they're really fun. I like what's coming in. But yeah, so you can listen to us anytime on YouTube or drinksatsix.com. But like Monica said, just because we sit and have cocktails at 6, this is recorded and saved on our site, so you have choices.
You're allowed to have your coffee in the morning and listen to us.
If you want.
It's sort of forbidden.
Or if you're driving to work, or if you're hiding out in the bathtub, or, if you're pretending you have to work and you're just hiding out in the closet with your headphones on. Anytime you can get away from your family, find some peace. Throw us on. We're your friends. Anyway, but do email us and let us know if you've got any topics that you like that we've talked about and you want us to explore further, or if there's any topics you want us to discuss. We're pretty much fearless.
Pretty much.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week at Drinks at 6.
Bye.
Bye. 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 At